Why are you spending money that you're not enjoying? You can start at any time. When you have the knowledge, if you realize that this is your money and you should keep it, it's your wealth. If I'm paying unnecessary interest, if I'm paying, unnecessary lifestyle expenses, I'm not getting the full enjoyment from my money being spent, why am I spending it?
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at and how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture.
This is John Smallwood, and we are back on Money Isn't today. And I'm excited about the topic here that I wanted to have a conversation with. In my book, It's Your Wealth, Keep It, Amazon bestseller, #1 in retirement, #2 in wealth management. I did a chapter 3, on the psychology of the savings rate. And when I wrote that chapter, I had the difference between a 5% saver, a 10% saver, and a 15% saver of their gross annual income. And the difference of the psychology of the human being that's actually doing it, right? And I think what's interesting is as you evolve and as you think of things, there's a perspective that I see out there that people believe, well, I've maxed out my retirement plan, and they're putting in maximum contribution. And in my brain, maximum retirement plan contribution is equal to the maximum amount allowed by the IRS to go in for that year, right? So if it's a traditional 401k plan and you're under the age of 50, it's around $22,500, give or take. If you're over 50, it's over $30,500. And then there's the availability, technically under the 401k rule, depending upon the structure of the plan, that you could actually put away $63,000. So what's interesting to me is people will say, I'm putting the max in my 401k plan, I'm putting 10% of my salary away. And I'm like, okay, well, you're making $150,000, that's only 15%. It's only $15,000, excuse me. The max is $22,500. So there's a distinction between max and maximum savings rate. And that's what I wanted to kind of dive in here today about the psychology of the saver. Now, when you're here right now, you might be 35, you might be 55, you might be 65, and I'm earning money. And there's a certain part of this which is about lifestyle. And I want to enjoy my money. I want to have enjoyment now, but I also want to have enjoyment later. And for many people, we're not going to have a liquidity event. We're not going to sell the company for a ton of money or have tons of stock options. And we live in what's called the defined contribution society. Years ago, we were in a defined benefit society, which means I work for a company, they put away money in a pension plan, I put money into Social Security, and I retire. And those 2 to 3 income streams were enough to make it happen. Now there's no pension. Social Security, while it's there, it's not enough to maintain lifestyle. So defined contribution is we have to put money away for ourselves. We're 100% responsible for our financial future. And my perspective is if you are a low saver, that means by default, if the money's not getting saved and or gifted, it's being consumed. So by default, you are a high spender. And with that high spending, you put yourself in a position that as you build this consistency of the way you spend, it becomes harder to accumulate wealth to actually get to the point where you can live off of your own capital. And that's really the definition of, I don't know, like I'm on my screen, you see the wealth curve simulation, and I got a 35-year-old making $250,000, and there's $1 saved just to have a starting point, right? And they're putting away, their lifestyle on the after-tax money is 90% of what they're bringing home. So when you look on the left-hand side of the screen, $250,000 worth of income, $47,000 worth of tax, state tax $12,000, lifestyle $181,000, savings rate $8,700. And I'm putting away money. And if I do that, I get to the point where if I don't change a damn thing about that, at 67, I've accumulated 1.2 million. Now I have in here the holdings, We're using 60% S&P, 40% bonds. We're using a simulation time frame of 1989 through 2023. The average rate of return during that time frame is 9.44%. I don't have volatility adjusted returns. I don't have management fees on it. I just have taxes and market piece, right? But what's interesting is if I live off of 181,000, I don't have inflation in it. If I put inflation in it, this doesn't work, okay? Smallwood Wealth Management is the lead sponsor of this podcast. You have an opportunity to have a free, no obligation conversation with one of our qualified advisors. Go to smallwoodwealth.com, schedule a call, or call us at 800-797-1000 and get on our calendars. But if I live off of $180,000 and I have a $1.2 million portfolio, how many years do you think that's going to last? At what point do you run out of money? You can see this chart is actually declining, right? So if I just expand the plot range a little bit further, it's about 10 years, assuming you were getting that return. So the future you is now pissed off at the past you, because during your 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, you were spending too much money and you weren't worried about taking care of the future you. So at that point, you need to dramatically reduce lifestyle or run out of money and hopefully that you burn up at the other end of that, right? I'm joking about that. But the reality is there's a blend. There's a psychological blend that I have seen over and over in the clients. There are clients that come in here that are massive savers and they don't enjoy their wealth. There's people that come in here and they make a lot of money. They save a little bit amount of money and they don't enjoy the way they're spending their money and they seem to be a victim to their spending. And then there's people in the center. They're saving a decent amount of money. Their expenses are their expenses, and they don't really know where they're going, right? This is something that we have control over, but if we get really clear about what it is that we want in the future and how we want to live, many people come in and like, I want to retire at 60. I'm like, okay, you're 55, and you have $500,000 saved up, and you make $300,000. Do the math. It's not going to work, okay? So this is about getting realistic in what's happening, but what I want you to see here is in financial planning, in wealth management, in whatever the heck you want to call it, all right? Financial stewardness, there are certain macros that need to be deployed on an ongoing basis, meaning if I don't have the proper savings rate and I have that, I default back into that, everything has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So if I don't have the proper savings rate, that means I spend too much money. If I spend too much money, inflation's going to impact me and all these other things. I don't have college in here. I don't have any of the things that a 35-year-old might be on their horizon, right? So I'm focused on this and saying, if I just simply move this from 90 to 85%, all of a sudden you see the curve is already different. The curve is not declining. And if I look at it in the first year, that's simply, if you stack them up and you look at them side by side, that's decreasing the lifestyle from $181,000 to $171,000. And just simply going from $8,000 a year to $10,000. And that creates $2.6 million of outcome versus 1.2. Which person would you rather be? That curve is trending up. Now there's other pressures, right? But that one shift, now in a really solid wealth plan, you're going to go look at taxes and you're going to look at lifestyle and you're going to look at enjoyment of the money that's being spent. In economics, there's a thing called marginal utility. How much enjoyment do I get from the money that I'm spending? The utils is a measurement of enjoyment. Very dry as an economic major, right? Very, very dry. Who the hell wants to talk about utils? When I talk about utils, my wife says, what are you talking about? But I want to clearly define something. If I get enjoyment from something, I spend money on something, and my enjoyment outweighs the cost, then there is technically no opportunity cost, okay? So somebody says, oh, you're leasing a Mercedes SL 500 or a 911 or whatever your favorite car is, right? And like, oh, that's an expensive car. But you get amazing enjoyment from that, then that's core expenses. That's not an expense, that's an investment in yourself. in your enjoyment factor. When I pay my energy bill, I get to have all these lights in my studio, right? That's not an expense, it's an investment. You got to think about this from a different perspective, okay? But I also get enjoyment from accumulating wealth. And I know there's all this financial pressure that's going to be in my future, that the only way out of financial pressure is to have more money, right? If inflation is higher, I need more money. If inflation is lower, I have excess money for other things that might happen, okay? So the equal and opposite reaction is, if I am a low saver, my withdrawal rate becomes disproportionately high in retirement, which increases the probability of running out of money before I leave this world. But when you look at the expenses, it's very hard for us as a wealth manager to say, oh, you just need to save more. I hear this so frequently. When I have money, I'll come talk to you. And I'm like, well, last I checked, you have a job, so you have money. At what point do you realize that that's your money and it's your money and you need to keep that money, right? It's your wealth, keep it. The more money you keep of it, the happier you're going to be in your future. So when I look at this simulation, this strategy, right? If I'm looking at $181,000 of lifestyle costs and I'm looking at $47,000 of taxes plus New Jersey taxes of $12,000, I'm talking about $250,000, $240,000 of money leaking out. Financial leaks everywhere, with many, many things that I do not have enjoyment around, right? It's just here in the plan. It's just here. Well, if I go back and I find the redundancies and I find where money's leaking out, and I have 5 streaming services and I haven't watched any of them in 18 months, but I'm paying $100 a month, each thing we recover adds an incremental jump, an exponential jump potentially in the plan. We're not talking about whether we're pre-tax, post-tax, 401k, match, whatever it is, right? We're just simply talking about the power of wealth accumulation. And it comes down to is, if I earn a certain amount of money, there's a certain savings rate that is optimum. That savings rate is going to be dictated by your goals, your dreams, your future liabilities and future obligations. And when I say liabilities and obligations, you have 4 kids and you want to educate them. Those are liabilities, right? But they're also, they could be considered obligations, but they're fabulous investments in the children that you brought into this world, right? And what's the ripple effect that you're going to get from making those investments? The greatest thing that you could be thinking about is, I'm going to provide an education for this child. That child is going to be able to become something that they want to be. That's an investment, right? But it's part of the things that hurdle you and stop you from creating wealth if you're not planning properly. So I wanted to dig into this today and to say, this is your current situation. It's a chess game. It's in motion. You're playing with many, many multiple factors. You're interacting with different people at different times, and somebody's saying, you should do this, buy this, don't buy that, that guy's an asshole, that's a bad strategy, the life insurance sucks, the annuity sucks, the investment portfolio sucks, there's risk, da-da-da-da-da. It's a myriad of chaos and crap, okay? And I bang this microphone right there, okay? It's chaos and it's crap, right? And you need to get rid of the noise and say, what is it that I want? I want things to be in the proper balance and the proper coordination. If I make $100,000 a year and I save 10 to 15% of my wealth, which is hard on $100,000, I'm getting ahead, because most people are saving 3 or 4, okay? If I do that and I save it efficiently, I have cash, I have stuff in the market, I participate in my company's retirement plan, either pre-tax or Roth, right? 401k or 401 Roth. I maximize that company match. I buy a house. I get the mortgage interest deduction. I'm building wealth. I do a brokerage account. I buy life insurance. I protect my family, whether it's term, whole life, universal life. You just got to have the maximum amount of coverage, right? But all these things need to be in optimal balance. And when they are, it works tremendously. when they're out, can't guarantee that though, right? Because stuff happens. But if you're optimized in your savings and in your protection and in your vision of where you're going, which will be different tomorrow than it is today based upon interactions with the world, right? And how you're thinking, where are you going? You need to constantly focus on, how do I go in and wring the crap out of my expenses? Meaning these expenses are here. Everybody gets you sign up here, sign up there, sign up there. I got a text from one of my kids yesterday, and it was like, do you want this subscribing service that's on the thing? It's $198. I'm like, I didn't actually know that I had it. So we're all guilty of this. Like, I'm not preaching to the choir saying that we're perfect, right? We're humans, right? And being human, we're subject to erosion principles, right? Our bodies get old, they get sick, which creates a ripple effect, right? Sometimes they get better with age. I saw a wonderful post yesterday. I was scrolling Instagram, and a woman who started her fitness journey at age 70, now she's 79. Holy crap, did she look fantastic. Like, what? I mean, wow. Incredible, right? You can start at any time is what my point is. When you have the knowledge, if you realize that this is your money and you should keep it, it's your wealth, right? And I want to command my wealth, therefore there should be a certain amount of taxes. If I'm overpaying taxes, I have an opportunity cost. If I'm overpaying fees and cost, I have an opportunity cost. If I'm paying unnecessary interest, if I'm paying, unnecessary lifestyle expenses, I'm not getting the full enjoyment from my money being spent. Why am I spending it? Why are you spending money that you're not enjoying? And I had a great conversation about 5 different times in the last 2 months with different people about things they own that they're spending a tremendous amount of money on, but because of the elements and the factors of it, they're not enjoying it because they're not getting what they want. If you're getting what you want from the things that you're spending money on, then you're happy about it. If your macros, your savings rate, your tax rates, your lifestyle rates, all of these benefits are in coordination, the plan has a much higher probability of success. If I'm undersaving and overpaying taxes and have a higher lifestyle, do the math. And I have shitty protection, which most people do that I've met, not everybody. They're not maximizing the company benefits. They don't have umbrella liabilities. They have crappy term insurance and crappy insurance policies and the wrong car insurance. And they're just vulnerable to all kinds of crap. And through coordination, you can get maximum protection with the least amount of cost, recapture the money, and have fun. It's not about where I put the money. It's about how I put the money. It's not about a product, right? If you think about, I'm going to use the analogy of golf, right? I can go out and I can buy the greatest set of clubs. I'm still going to be relatively the same golfer that I am today, that I am tomorrow. Like, I go and I buy the clubs right now. I could get on the course and be playing around with Jordan Spieth or Tiger Woods or, Scheffler or somebody that's on the top of the tour now, right? And I give them the vintage clubs. I say, you have to use the 1935 clubs. And I'm going to get these brand new balls. You're going to use the 1935 balls also. They're going to kick my ass. It doesn't matter the club. It matters the swing. How coordinated is their swing? Each club they pick up, their swing is coordinated. My swing is not coordinated. I'm still working on it. I'm still practicing. They are still practicing and working and making their swing better, but it's not the product, the golf clubs, that's going to make me or them a good golfer. It's the swing. Your financial plan is the same thing. It's not about the product that you're putting your money into. It's about the coordination of the swing. The swing in wealth management is the savings rate. It's the tax structure. It's the diversification of the portfolio and the different asset classes and the cash and guarantees and all the things that are available to you. It's organizing those products in a unique manner to meet your unique circumstances. That's how you coordinate. It's not somebody on the tour makes their own clubs because standard clubs don't work for him because he has a different swing. But again, he could pick up the 1937 clubs and kick my ass. He's still going to be a better golfer. He's going to drive it further. He's going to chip it better. He's going to be better because what has he done? He's focused on his swing thousands and thousands of times. We have the opportunity to focus on our swing thousands and thousands of times. Our swing is in wealth management, right? Your swing is how do you accumulate enough money to maintain the standard of living that you have today? That standard of living today will be different tomorrow. If you make $100,000 today, in 10 years from now, you're making $200,000. Guess what's happened? Your lifestyle has creeped up. Gresham's law, right? Expenses rise to income. The plan is a one-year plan with as many one-year plans as you possibly can. If the last 5 years of my working life, I got my income up to $1 million a year and my lifestyle creeped up, do I want to continue to live that same lifestyle? Or do I want to retire and live on 50% of that or less? Most people are because they didn't do proper planning on the front end. So I wanted to talk about savings rate on our website, Smallwood Wealth. You can request a free copy of It's Your Wealth, Keep It while supplies last. Can't guarantee that we're going to do a reprint. We're getting near the end. We might do 2.0 of that book, okay? Thinking about it. But we've got, a couple hundred left. So request one while they're still here. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.